It was a typical Thursday morning in New York City, and Olivia Bennet was already buried in paperwork at her sleek corner office overlooking the skyline. She loved her job as a marketing executive at a boutique firm, but some days, the endless meetings and client calls made her feel like she was drowning in deadlines. She adjusted her glasses and took a sip of coffee, hoping it would kickstart her sluggish morning. Just as she reached for her pen, the office door opened with a quiet click. Olivia looked up, and froze. Standing in the doorway was Ethan Carter, the new consultant who had been assigned to her team for a high-profile project. He was tall, impeccably dressed, and had a confidence that seemed to fill the room effortlessly. His piercing green eyes met hers, and for a moment, Olivia felt like her heart had decided to ignore her entirely. "Morning, Olivia," Ethan said, his voice calm but carrying a warmth that made her forget the stack of reports in front of her. "Mind if I join you?" Olivia swallowed, realizing her mind had gone completely blank. Of course. Please," she managed to say, stepping slightly aside. As he walked in, the subtle scent of his cologne hit her, a mix of cedarwood and something slightly sweet, not overpowering, but enough to make her senses tingle. Olivia reminded herself to breathe. "Focus, Olivia. Focus on the project." Ethan smiled faintly, setting down his sleek laptop on her desk. "I wanted to go over the campaign outline you prepared," he said, though the way he said it, it sounded less like work and more like he genuinely wanted to be there with her. Olivia's fingers brushed his hand briefly as she handed over the files. She felt a spark she couldn't explain, and quickly pulled her hand back, pretending to straighten papers. For the next hour, they discussed strategies, timelines, and client demographics. Olivia found herself distracted by the way Ethan leaned slightly forward when he explained a point, the way his smile creased the corner of his eyes, and the occasional gentle laughter he offered when she cracked a joke. Normally composed and professional, Olivia realized she was laughing more than she had in weeks, her heart fluttering each time their hands brushed accidentally while pointing at graphs or documents. Later, as Ethan leaned back in the chair, stretching casually, Olivia noticed he had an open notebook filled with neatly written notes. One page caught her eye. He had scribbled a little doodle, a tiny sun with sunglasses. She couldn't help but smile. It was the first time she felt like he was letting his guard down around her, and the gesture seemed personal somehow, intimate in a harmless, heart-fluttering way. "Olivia," Ethan said suddenly, breaking her daydream, "would you like to grab lunch with me? There's a new cafe a few blocks away. I hear they make the best sandwiches in the city." Olivia blinked, her mind scrambling for a proper response. This was unusual. She rarely let colleagues get this close outside work hours. And yet, she found herself nodding, feeling a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. "Sure. I'd love to." The cafe was cozy, tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop on a quiet street. They found a corner table and spent the next hour talking about everything except work, favorite movies, childhood memories, travel dreams, and even embarrassing high school stories. Olivia realized she had never connected with a colleague like this before. There was something magnetic about Ethan's presence, an ease that made her laugh and share parts of herself she usually kept hidden. Back at the office, Olivia noticed herself thinking about him constantly. A message from Ethan popped up on her phone. "Good luck with the afternoon meetings. Can't wait to hear your brilliant ideas later." Her cheeks flushed, and she realized that for the first time in a long while, someone's attention made her genuinely giddy. Days turned into weeks, and Olivia and Ethan's collaboration deepened. They stayed late, brainstormed in quiet conference rooms, and shared casual coffee breaks that often lasted longer than intended. The flirtation was subtle, lingering glances, light teasing, playful nudges, but it was undeniable. Olivia felt a thrill every time he complimented her insights or praised her creativity. One rainy evening, after an unusually long day, Ethan offered to drive her home. As they walked out of the office, the city lights reflected on the wet pavement, and Olivia felt a momentary hesitation. She didn't want this evening to end, and yet she also didn't want to cross professional boundaries. Ethan seemed to sense her inner conflict, smiling gently as he opened the car door for her. "Do you want to grab a coffee before heading home?" he asked softly. Olivia nodded, heart pounding. They found a small cafe still open, the warm lights and soft music providing a perfect backdrop for a private conversation. Over steaming mugs of cocoa, Ethan leaned slightly closer. Olivia noticed the subtle brush of his hand as he reached for his cup, and her pulse quickened. "I have to admit something," Ethan said, voice low. "I didn't expect to meet someone like you when I started here. You make everything better, Olivia. Work, the city, even a boring Thursday evening." Olivia felt heat rise to her cheeks. She wanted to respond, to tell him she felt the same fluttering excitement, but the words seemed to catch in her throat. Instead, she smiled, heart racing. Over the next few weeks, their friendship blossomed into something neither could ignore. Emails were tinged with humor, team meetings included subtle inside jokes, and even casual encounters in the office carried an electric tension that neither could deny. Olivia caught herself daydreaming about him during work hours, about his smile, the way he brushed his hair back absent-mindedly, and the comforting depth in his voice when he laughed at her jokes. One evening, the office was empty except for the two of them. They had stayed late to finalize a major project presentation. Ethan looked over the slides, then turned to her, eyes locking with hers. The air seemed to hum with unspoken emotions. "Olivia," he said softly, I think about you. A lot." Her heart skipped a beat. She swallowed, trying to steady her voice. "Ethan, I feel the same way. I didn't know how to say it." A shared laugh broke the tension, followed by a long pause where they simply looked at each other, the connection undeniable. That evening, as they walked out into the quiet city streets together, the chemistry between them was palpable. They didn't need to rush anything. The anticipation, the teasing glances, the emotional closeness, it all made their bond feel more meaningful. From that night on, Olivia and Ethan's relationship grew naturally. They navigated their workplace dynamics with care, learning to balance professionalism with a deep emotional connection. Coffee breaks, shared lunches, and collaborative projects became moments of playful flirting and heartfelt conversations. Their bond wasn't just physical, it was emotional, romantic, and exhilarating in a way Olivia had never experienced before. By the time spring arrived in New York, Olivia found herself looking forward to every encounter, every shared laugh, every subtle touch. The tension that had once made her heart race had transformed into a deep, abiding connection. And though they hadn't crossed the line into anything explicit, the anticipation of the growing romance kept every moment charged with excitement. Olivia realized that losing control didn't always mean recklessness, it sometimes meant letting herself feel, letting herself connect, and allowing the thrill of genuine affection to guide her heart. She smiled as she glanced at Ethan, who was laughing at a joke she had just made. In that moment, she knew that this was just the beginning of something beautiful, an emotional, exhilarating, and safe romance that had already changed her life.